6-year-old Lily Chen walked into billionaire CEO Richard Blackwood's office clutching one crumpled dollar bill. "Where can I buy a dad?" she asked innocently. Richard was having the worst day of his career, but this little girl's question made him cry and changed his life forever. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Richard Blackwood was having the worst day of his life. The merger he'd been working on for 6 months had just fallen through, costing his company $50 million. His board of directors was furious, investors were pulling out, and the media was calling him a failure. He sat behind his massive oak desk on the 45th floor of Blackwood Industries, staring at the city below through floor-to-ceiling windows. At 38, he was one of the youngest billionaire CEOs in the country, but today he felt like a complete failure. His phone buzzed with angry calls from investors. His assistant knocked repeatedly, trying to schedule damage control meetings. But Richard ignored them all. He was too busy drowning in his own misery. Then something impossible happened. A small voice broke through his despair. "Excuse me, sir. Where can I buy a dad?" Richard looked up, startled. Standing in his office doorway was a little girl, maybe 6 years old, with messy brown pigtails and a torn pink dress. Her face was dirty, her shoes were too big, and she clutched a crumpled dollar bill in her small fist. "What?" Richard blinked, wondering if the stress had finally made him hallucinate. "I need to buy a dad," the little girl repeated seriously. "My teacher said you can buy anything with money, and this is where rich people work. So where do I go to buy one?" Richard stared at her, speechless. How had a child gotten past building security, past his assistant, into his private office? "Little girl, you can't just— How did you get in here?" "I walked," she said simply. The nice man at the front desk was sleeping, and the elevator lady was on the phone. "I've been looking for you all morning." "Looking for me?" "Not you exactly. Just someone with money who can help me buy a dad." Richard felt something crack inside his chest. The innocence in her voice, the matter-of-fact way she spoke about buying a father, it was heartbreaking. "Sweetie, you can't buy a dad. That's not how it works." The little girl's face fell. "But my friend Jimmy said his mom bought his new dad. They went to a big party and now Jimmy has a dad who takes him fishing." Richard realized she was talking about her friend's mother getting remarried. "That's different, honey. That's called getting married." "Well, can you get married to my mommy then?" The question hit Richard like a punch to the gut. "I don't even know your mommy." "She's really nice," the girl said hopefully. "She makes the best chocolate chip cookies and she sings pretty songs and she works really hard at the diner." "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily. Lily Chen. I'm 6 3/4 years old." "Lily, where's your mommy right now?" Lily's face grew worried. "She's at the hospital. She got really sick at work yesterday and fell down. The doctor said she needs to rest, but she keeps saying we can't afford it." Richard felt his heart breaking. "Who's taking care of you?" "Mrs. Rodriguez from downstairs watches me sometimes, but she had to go to work today. So I decided to come find someone to buy me a dad." "Lily, honey, why do you need a dad?" Tears welled up in Lily's brown eyes. "Because mommy cries at night when she thinks I'm sleeping. She says she's tired of doing everything alone. And because the mean man came yesterday and said we have to leave our apartment if mommy doesn't pay him more money." "The mean man?" "The landlord. He was very loud and made mommy cry. I heard him say that single mothers are trouble and he doesn't want us living there anymore." Richard felt anger building in his chest. Not at this innocent child, but at a world that could be so cruel to a little girl and her struggling mother. "And you thought buying a dad would fix everything?" Lily nodded seriously. "Dads help mommies, right? They pay for things and fix broken stuff and make mommies smile instead of cry." Richard's throat tightened. This child had such a pure understanding of what a father should be: a protector, a provider, a source of joy. "How much money do you have, Lily?" She held up her crumpled dollar bill proudly. "1 whole dollar. I found it under the couch cushions." That's when Richard Blackwood, billionaire CEO who hadn't cried since he was 10 years old, felt tears streaming down his face. This little girl thought she could buy a father with $1. She believed love and family were commodities that could be purchased. And the worst part was she was standing in an office that represented everything wrong with that thinking, where money was the only thing that mattered. "Mr. Rich Man, why are you crying?" Lily asked, her voice full of concern. "I'm not," Richard wiped his eyes quickly. "I'm just sad that you think you need to buy a dad." "Are you sad because $1 isn't enough?" Richard laughed through his tears. "No, sweetheart. I'm sad because some things in life shouldn't cost anything at all." Lily looked confused. "My mommy says everything costs money. Food costs money, Our apartment costs money, mommy's medicine costs money. Your mommy is right about those things. But love doesn't cost money. Families don't cost money. Then how do you get them? Richard looked at this brave little girl who had walked into a skyscraper, found her way to the CEO's office, and asked the most important question he'd ever heard. You get them, he said slowly, by caring about people. By helping them. By choosing to love them. Lily brightened. So you'll choose to love me and mommy? The question was so simple, so hopeful that Richard felt his entire world shift. Here he was, devastated about a failed business deal, while this child was facing real problems, poverty, illness, homelessness, with nothing but hope and $1. Lily, what's your mommy's name? Anna Chin. She works at Mel's Diner on 5th Street. She's the best waitress there, but they don't pay her very much. And what hospital is she at? City General. Room 314. I memorized it. Richard made a decision that would change 3 lives forever. Lily, what if I told you that you don't need to buy a dad? What if I told you that sometimes, dads find you instead? What do you mean? I mean, what if we go visit your mommy right now and I meet her and maybe I can help your family? Lily's eyes widened. Really? You do that? I do that. But what about your work? This is a very important office. Richard looked around his corner office, the awards on the walls, the expensive furniture, the view of the city that had once meant everything to him. Suddenly none of it seemed important. You know what, Lily? You're more important than any work I have to do. Anna Chin was sleeping when Richard and Lily arrived at room 314. She was pale and thin, with dark circles under her eyes that spoke of too many sleepless nights and too much worry. Even unconscious, she looked exhausted. Mommy? Lily whispered, climbing carefully onto the bed. I brought someone to meet you. Anna's eyes fluttered open. When she saw her daughter, she smiled weakly. When she saw Richard, an expensive suit, perfectly groomed, clearly wealthy, her expression changed to confusion and worry. Lily, honey, who is this man? This is Mr. Lily looked at Richard. What's your name? Richard. Richard Blackwood. Anna's face went white. The Richard Blackwood? From Blackwood Industries. You know who I am? Everyone knows who you are. You're one of the richest men in the city. Anna struggled to sit up, suddenly self-conscious about her hospital gown and messy hair. Lily, what did you do? I went to buy a dad, Lily announced proudly. But Mr. Richard says you can't buy dads, they find you instead. And he found us. Anna looked mortified. Mr. Blackwood, I am so sorry. I don't know how she got to your office, but... She walked, Richard said gently. And I'm glad she did. You don't understand. Lily sometimes gets ideas in her head and she doesn't think about how impossible they are. I never told her to bother you. Anna, may I call you Anna? She nodded, still looking embarrassed. Your daughter didn't bother me. She saved me. What? Richard sat down in the chair beside Anna's bed. I was having the worst day of my life. Business problems. I was sitting in my office feeling sorry for myself. Then Lily walked in and asked where she could buy a dad. Anna's eyes filled with tears. Oh, Lily. And it made me realize something, Richard continued. I've spent my entire adult life thinking that money could solve any problem, buy any solution. But your daughter taught me that the most important things in life, love, family, happiness, can't be bought. Mr. Blackwood, you don't need to. Please let me finish. Lily told me about your situation. The medical bills, the landlord, the struggles you're facing. And I want to help. Anna shook her head. We don't take charity. It's not charity. It's... Richard struggled to find the right words. It's investment. An investment in something more valuable than any business deal. I don't understand. Richard looked at Lily, who was listening intently. Your daughter asked me to be her dad. Not because she wants my money, but because she wants her mommy to stop crying at night. She wants her family to be safe and happy. Mr. Blackwood. Richard. Please call me Richard. Richard, you're a billionaire. You could have anyone do anything. Why would you want to get involved with a struggling single mother and her daughter? Richard was quiet for a moment. Because in 38 years, no one has ever made me cry the way your daughter did today. Because she reminded me what really matters. And because... He looked at Anna, really looked at her, and saw kindness, strength, and beauty that had nothing to do with money. Because I think I'd like to try being the kind of man your daughter thinks a dad should be. Anna stared at him. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious about anything in my life. You don't know us. We could be anyone. I know that your daughter walked into the most intimidating building in the city, found her way to the CEO's office, and politely asked where she could buy a dad. That takes courage. I know that you've raised a child who thinks love can solve any problem. That takes wisdom. And I know that you're both fighters who never give up. That takes strength. Mommy, Lily said quietly, I like Mr. Richard. He has kind eyes like Daddy Jake from my storybook. Anna looked at her daughter, then at Richard. This is crazy. The best things usually are, Richard said. Richard kept his promise in every way that mattered. He paid Anna's medical bills and gave them a beautiful apartment in a safe neighborhood. He helped Anna find a better job, not at his company because she insisted on earning her own way, but at a boutique restaurant where her natural warmth and work ethic were appreciated. But more importantly, he became part of their family. He learned to braid Lily's hair, badly, but she loved it anyway. He attended every parent-teacher conference, every school play, every bedtime story session. He discovered that being needed was better than being wealthy, that making Lily laugh was more satisfying than closing million-dollar deals. And somewhere along the way he fell in love with Anna, not just because she was beautiful but because she was the strongest, kindest person he'd ever met. Richard, Anna said one evening as they watched Lily play in their new backyard, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you ever regret it? Giving up your old life for us. Richard thought about his old life, the empty penthouse, the 16-hour workdays, the loneliness he'd hidden behind business success. Anna, I didn't give up my old life. I found my real life. But your business is doing better than ever. Turns out when you have something to come home to, you make better decisions at work. It was true. Since meeting Anna and Lily, Richard had become a more focused, more purposeful leader. His company was thriving, but more importantly, he was thriving. Daddy Richard. Lily called out, running toward them. She'd started calling him Daddy Richard a month ago, and it never failed to make his heart skip. What is it, princess? Can we go get ice cream? Please? What do you think, Mommy? Richard asked Anna. Ice cream for dinner? Anna laughed. Just this once. As they walked to the ice cream shop, Lily holding both their hands, Richard marveled at how much his life had changed. 6 months ago he'd thought success was measured in dollars and deals. Now he knew it was measured in bedtime hugs and family dinners and the sound of Lily's laughter. Daddy Richard? Lily said as they sat outside the ice cream shop. Yes, sweetheart. Thank you for letting me buy you. Richard and Anna exchanged amused glances. Lily, you didn't buy me. Yes, I did. I gave you my $1, remember? And now you're my daddy. Richard realized she was right. He still had that crumpled dollar bill in his wallet. He kept it as a reminder of the day his life changed. You're right, Lily. Best dollar I ever earned. And you know what the best part is? What's that? Now Mommy doesn't cry at night anymore. She smiles instead. Richard looked at Anna, who was indeed smiling, the kind of smile that came from deep happiness, not just politeness. That's because we're a family now, Anna said. A real family, Lily agreed. The kind you can't buy but you can choose. The wedding was small and perfect. Lily was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously as she scattered rose petals down the aisle. She wore a white dress with a pink sash and had insisted on carrying a small sign that read, "My mommy is marrying my daddy." Richard stood at the altar, watching his soon-to-be wife walk toward him. Anna looked radiant in a simple white dress, but what made her beautiful was the joy in her eyes. Do you, Richard Blackwood, take Anna Chen to be your wife? I do, Richard said, his voice thick with emotion. Do you, Anna Chen, take Richard Blackwood to be your husband? I do, Anna said, tears of happiness streaming down her face. And Lily, the minister said, smiling at the little girl, do you accept Richard as your daddy? I already did that a long time ago, Lily announced. When I bought him with my $1. Everyone laughed. After the ceremony, Richard found a quiet moment with his new daughter. Lily, do you remember that day you came to my office? When I tried to buy a dad? Yes. Do you know what you really bought that day? Lily thought seriously. A family? You bought something even better than that. What? You bought a chance. A chance for your mommy to be happy, a chance for you to have a daddy who loves you, and a chance for me to discover what love really means. Lily hugged him tight. That's a really good deal for $1. The best deal I've ever made. That night, as Richard tucked Lily into bed in their new house, their family home, she looked up at him with sleepy eyes. Daddy Richard? Yes, princess. I'm glad you can't really buy dads at stores. Why is that? Because then everyone would have the same kind. But I got a special daddy. One who found me instead of me finding him. Richard kissed her forehead. Sweet dreams, Lily. Sweet dreams, Daddy. As Richard turned off the lights and closed the door, he thought about the journey that had brought them here. It had started with the worst day of his professional life and a little girl's impossible question. Where can I buy a dad? She taught him that the best things in life couldn't be bought. They could only be chosen, nurtured, and loved. Richard Blackwood was still a billionaire CEO. But more importantly, he was a husband and a father. And those were the titles that mattered most. Sometimes the most valuable investments have nothing to do with money. Sometimes a child's innocent question can change everything. And sometimes the best deals are the ones made with the heart.